I'm Shane Coolball, and this is Coffee with Candidates. I'm here with my co-host Samantha Fulham, and our guest today is Craig Lehman, who is running for Lieutenant Governor. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
Short drive, he is only from Lancaster, so the shortest commute.
When you're running statewide, you take the short drive whenever you can.
Absolutely. So one of our standard questions that we ask everyone is, what does being a Democrat mean to you?
Well, I think I'm going to change the question list is, why am I a Democrat?
There you go.
For me, I simply have too much heart to be anything else.
Yeah.
And I always find it fascinating when candidates get asked that question. They seem to feel like they need to go through the laundry list of issues that they support. But for me, it's just simply part of who I am. And I think that the Democratic Party and my being a Democrat really harkens back to the Declaration of Independence with the idea that all are created equal, and that we are endowed by our Creator to have certain inalienable rights. Those are, among them, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I really think that's what this is all about. And I think that's what the Democratic Party is all about, and that's what I try to be as a Democrat.
Yeah.
I really like that answer.
Yeah. Good answer.
Yeah, A+.
Wow, I didn't know I was getting graded on now. I may need to occur for the rest of the questions, right?
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, currently I serve as a county commissioner in Lancaster. I've just started my 11th year. I served a term on Lancaster City Council. I served 2 years as city controller. I worked for the state legislature for 15 years as a budget analyst. The title that I had when I left was senior analyst. I have a master's degree in policy analysis from Penn State, a bachelor's degree from Shippensburg University in public administration. I served the United States Navy from 1981 to 1985. I served as president of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania in 2015, and I'm currently chair of the Pennsylvania Democratic Caucus of County Commissioners.
Wow, quite the resume.
My wife's name's Amanda. We've been married 11 years. It'll be 12 this year. 2 stepchildren, Caleb, who's a freshman in college, and Maggie, who's 13. And before the show, we talked about my dog Sam.
Yeah.
So, our dog Sam.
So when did you first become politically active?
Well, the first campaign that I worked on, and I guess I'm going to age myself, but oh well.
Everyone has.
Can't help that. I worked the polls in 1993 for Janice Stork, who was then running for re-election as mayor of the city of Lancaster. That was the first time that I worked the polls.
Awesome.
In 1993. So it was not yesterday.
That was the year Shane was born. Can you tell us some of your accomplishments as county commissioner?
Sure. A few of the accomplishments that I thought I would share with you today are, first of all, Lancaster County has adopted a budget without a structural deficit for 6 years in a row. We just had our credit rating increased. We are number 1 in the nation in farmland preservation. We preserve nearly 110,000 acres. We are the only community in the nation that has functionally eliminated chronic homelessness and veteran homelessness. In 2012, our jail population was over 1,300. Earlier this month, the warden at our prison board meeting announced that our prison population was 762.
Wow.
I'm proud to be supportive of the Joining Forces effort in Lancaster County, which is a collaborative effort to try and help deal with the opioid epidemic. And I'm also proud to be involved in the collaboration, which is now called Lancaster Clean Water Partners, which is really focused on cleaning up our freshwater resources in Lancaster County. So those are just some of the things I thought I would share.
Wow, I didn't realize that Lancaster was, I don't know, I guess I just never knew those things about Lancaster. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to run for Lieutenant Governor?
Well, I've been increasingly disenfranchised with how the state deals with its fiscal challenges. As a former budget analyst, I know that the budget process can and should work. But lately it seems like the annual budget process is like a scene out of the movie Groundhog Day. And I think people sometimes ask the question, well, why does fiscal responsibility matter? Well, when you have a Republican-led legislature there seems to be no end to their appetite for deficit spending, I think you come to the conclusion really quickly that when you're not in good financial shape, you have difficulty dealing with other issues that crop up. I can tell you it's a whole lot easier for an organization to deal with an issue when they're in good fiscal shape than when they're in poor fiscal shape. And I think we need to understand. It really is. Problems. It really is. I mean, I've said many times is that if you don't manage your budget will manage you. And I think that's what we have at the state right now. We don't have a lot of choices, and I don't think a lot of things are getting done as well as they could if we were in a better fiscal shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. What is one issue that you feel very strongly about and would kind of like to touch on if you get elected?
Well, it's kind of a difficult question to ask given the limited scope of the office of Lieutenant Governor. So I think it's always incumbent upon candidates when they're running for office, when they get asked questions like this, to try and stay within the scope of what they do. I'm going to go a little bit beyond that. What I would like to do is I'd like to have a serious conversation with the governor on how we could perhaps expand the responsibilities of the Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
And to see where the governor and I are comfortable and what that might look like and how we could proceed in a way that makes sense for Pennsylvania. Beyond that, the core responsibilities of the Lieutenant Governor are presiding over the Senate, serving on the Emergency Management Council, and chair of the Pardons Boards. One thing I would probably focus on, since it's within the core scope of the Lieutenant Governor's office, would be on the emergency management side of things. It's been brought to my attention that the Lieutenant Governor doesn't necessarily play the same role in emergency management that Lieutenant Governors historically had. So I'd like to take a look at that and see, how we maybe could go back to where the Lieutenant Governor had a greater role in PEMA and greater role in the Emergency Management Council and just emergency response in general.
Absolutely. So, how would you lead differently than our current Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack?
Well, first of all, I made the commitment when I first announced my campaign that I would not make this race about one person or one issue. So the most you're going to get out of me on that question is that to the extent that I disagree with other candidates in the race, I will make my disagreement known and explain my position. And to the extent that candidates decide that they want to take a chunk out of me, I will be happy to respond in a professional manner. Yeah. But what I've been trying to do as a candidate is to live by the 5 rules that I ticked off for the Lancaster County Chamber of Commerce and Industry earlier this year when they asked the question, do you think civil public discourse is possible in this day and age? And then I quickly ticked the 5 rules off that I try to follow every day because I think they're important for anybody serving in public office or anybody running for public office. And those are, first and most importantly, it's not about me. Don't make yourself the issue. Second of all, be professional. Don't make things personal. Third, be prepared because doing your homework can make all the difference. 4, support policies and programs that make sense and do the right thing. And number 5, set a good example because tone matters. So that's how I'm going to try to present myself as a candidate.
So rules to live by, not even if you're running for public office. I mean, switch a few words around and that's just a good 5 to go off of.
I would agree. And it's I think if we had more of that in Harrisburg and more of that in Washington and more of that just generally in our public discourse, we'd have a greater chance of solving some of the big problems that really need to be addressed. And if we did that in our personal life, maybe we do a little better in our personal life too. That would be a good thing.
Absolutely.
It would be a good thing.
What is one piece of advice that you would offer the younger generations?
Well, I've had the opportunity to sit on a panel for Leadership Lancaster, and they always ask that question to the participants, so I'm going to give you the same answer that I give to them. Find your passion and then get involved. I mean, all of us have different skills, all of us have different goals, all of us have different dreams, all of us have different passions. But if you can find the one thing that you're good at and have passion for, and then use that passion for good in our community, quite frankly, that's as good as it gets in this life. I don't care what you do. If you can take your passion, something that you're good at, and then help make your community better, that's as good as it gets.
Good advice. So who is someone that inspired you to take this path of leadership in life?
Well, I can tell you the people that had the greatest impact in my life, my grandmother, Dora Kozer Lehman, and my parents. But I want to tell you a story about my grandmother, which made a huge impact in my life. And I think if every child had a similar initial experience in their life, the world would be a much different place. So when I was a little boy, I don't know exactly how old, but I was little. I was with my grandmother, and I'm not exactly sure where we were. The memory is such that I think we were in like a farmer's market type area, Lancaster County, of course. Even though now Lancaster County is one of the largest urban counties in the state with over 540,000 people. When I was a kid growing up, Lancaster County was a small little agricultural county in south central Pennsylvania. But I was with my grandmother, and I had never met an African American person. I was just a little kid. I don't even think I'd started school yet. My grandmother goes up to this person, gives them a hug and a kiss. And that moment has stayed with me my entire life, because I think of all the kids growing up in the world that if their first experience with someone different than them started with love and respect, this world would be a much different place. So I'm forever grateful for my grandmother because of who she was and how she loved all people. And I think that's had a huge impact in my life and had a huge impact in my desire to run for public office and serve.
Yeah, well, that's a nice story.
She sounds like a phenomenal person.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
She was awesome.
Yeah. So if people would like to get involved in your campaign and help out, how can they do so?
Well, probably the easiest thing to do is they can simply sign up on the website at lehmanforpa.com. It's FORPA.com.
You have to say that anymore, you never know.
You know, because some people use the number 4, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, if it's the 4th congressional district, I really liked how they've been doing that. Anyway.
Well, folks can be be very creative in terms
Right.
of how they
Yeah.
come up with their web address, and that's a good thing. But they can sign up on the website, or they can simply email the campaign at lehmanforpa, FORPA, at gmail.com. And either way, we'd be happy to have them help out and get them involved in some way.